Okay, good evening. Thank you all for coming. Thank you to Google Campus Tel Aviv for having us here. As some of you may know, we were supposed to have a Bitcoin conference today that got cancelled, unfortunately. But we found out that there are some speakers that came here to Israel anyway. It's a great place to be, and we wanted to use that. So we put together this meetup to have some of these people speak here and present what they have to say to this crowd. So we will start with Jack Liao, the CEO of LightningASIC. So please welcome Jack.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Thanks, Google Campus gave me this chance to have the one great speech here. Thanks, Tel Aviv Bitcoiners. It's my first time to Israel. It's a very nice trip. Before I come, and every friend say, no, the situation is not good, and why you come there is dangerous. So when I arrived, I think here the security is very good, and the local people is very kind. So thanks. And my company, my name is Jack, CEO of the LightningASIC. My company now is started the Bitcoin from last year. We provide the miners, and we start the ASIC design from last year. Now we have our own ASIC script 128 nanometer. And now the mining in China is very hard now because the hash rate speed rises very quickly, and now the network speed is very high, and 1 terahash miner can mine only 0.03, less than 0.03 bitcoins one day. And so in China, some family miner quit out this market, and we set up a very big farm. Some company now they start hosting very big farm. They just provide the hosting. You buy the miner, and the company host for you and charge you the electricity. And there's 3 very big farm in China building now. It's about 50,000 kilowatts. It means if after it's finished, it means one farm it's about 50 peta hash rate for Bitcoin. And in China now, there's some company, they design the ASIC. We know the companies, for example, the Avalon and Bitmine and ASIC miner. So now we buy the ASIC chipset from the other company. We don't produce it. So we sell the Bitcoin miner to many different countries: Europe, American, Japan, Australia, and some to Middle East. My company now has the 28 nanometer script ASIC. It's very good performance, but now the altcoins, script coins market now is very bad. The hash rate rises very quickly, and the coin price dropped about 80%. So now it's very hard time for the security miner company. So we now it's very headache. Hope tomorrow the coin price will rise. Yeah, I think for Israel now it's not good market for mining. My one question is, so how many friends now they are around the mining, whatever Bitcoin, whatever the script coin here? Can raise your hand? Oh, not yeah, not so many. So how many miners you have?
Only my personal computer.
Personal computer. Now you cannot get the coins. Yeah.
It's for volunteer work.
Yeah. So now in China we have some project. Is for example, you invest $500,000 RMB around $100,000. Join with the group mining. So we go together to find the cheap electricity and find the cheap factory place, and we produce together. We buy the ASIC from supplier. We assemble it together, then go to the money. So it's much better than you buy directly from the miner supplier. It can save about around 40 to 30% of the cost. Then we can survive on the mining market. Yeah, this is my company main business now for the hardware miners, And we start. Another big project is ATM. We have the different 3 models ATM. You can take a look behind the post. We have one-way simple ATM, two-way simple ATM, and the ATM for the bank. So we started about 3 months ago. We have the plan to set up the very big ATM network to let the different country people can use it. And then in the future, we can do something based on these networks. For example, let more people buy and sell Bitcoin and know what is Bitcoin. They can try. For example, buy 1 Bitcoin or half Bitcoin or just 1 M BTC. Yeah. Or in the future, you can use these ATM networks to do the transaction. Now if we transfer money, we have the now very few choice. As I know in China, we use the Western Union. They charge at least 3%, and we use the PayPal. They charge at least 3.5, or we use a bank. Bank charge is not so much, but it takes time. So in the future, I think let's imagine if in the future more than 10,000 Bitcoin ATM is launched in the market, and the different country, every country have it, and you can transfer money via this system. You can come to one shop, say, okay, I want to transfer, for example, $100 to America. So then you got something, for example, want some password, some key code. Then you give it to your friend. Your friend go to local shops, say, oh, I have this key code, and I want to take the dollars. So the shops can give it to you, just charge you a few less than the commission. Yeah, this is our, for example, this is our plans. So we will sell the ATM, one-way ATM, very cheap, less than $1,000. Yeah, one way. It means you can use the cash to buy Bitcoin.
And not the opposite.
Pardon?
And not the opposite. You can't sell the Bitcoins and get dollars.
The one-way ATM means you put the cash, input the cash, then you got the Bitcoin. So and for the two-way machine, ATM machine is you can buy or sell the Bitcoin on the machine. We will sell it. Now we are sourcing the key part of the cash component. If we got a good price, we will sell it on less than $2,000. I think this price is much cheaper in the whole world now. Number soon the sale the ATM is one way is about $5,000. We will sell less than 800. Yeah, we sell just for the cost. First, we can support the community to set up the Bitcoin network very quickly, and second, we can help my company to set up one ATM system in the whole world. Yeah, that's the ATM hardware. Third is I invest to one company, Krohn. This is one here. I prepared the PPT for it. This is one website. Let the people can open the shops on it. Use the Bitcoin to sell the goods, service. We have the multi-thread technology. Now our design is like this: the buyer, seller, and my website. Every part had provide one private key. When the deals got smoothly, the buyer and seller will close the deal very quickly. The buyer just click the confirm, then the Bitcoin transfer to the seller. If there's some argument, the website will join to judge it. So if the seller win, so we found the seller will get the Bitcoin. Or if the buyer win, the buyer will get back the Bitcoin and return back the goods. Now the website is just supports the Bitcoin, and in the future we will add support other coins, for example Dogecoin, Litecoin. We have you can open the shops, and very easily, and we provide the online on-chain wallet. Now in China, our website has another domain name is Krohn.com. We have more than 200 shops and thousands of products, and some people has buy something from our website. It's very great advantage in China. This one is the wallet service of our website. We provide the on-chain wallet. It means the private keys won't be touched by our website. So in the future, it will not happen again like the empty box. Your Bitcoin lost, so we don't touch it. Here's the maps how it works. So everybody has a private key. If the seller, buyer, or my website CoinCola is so when the deal got very smoothly, so the buyer and the seller will confirm the deals, and the seller got coin, the buyer got the goods. For the process of the normal refund, if the buyer applies for the refund, they will beat up the transaction address for the refund. And the seller to approve the refund, so it's finished. If it's for the progress of the dispute, so judge, with step 1, the judge the refund according to proof submitted by both parties. If the refund is approved, side refund transaction by the CoinCola private key, broadcast the transaction to Bitcoin network. So we trust the precious we protected by multi-signature. So because now in China many different websites in China we faced some scams. A few exchange websites launched in the market last year, but they disappeared suddenly. So everybody is unhappy for the lose of the coins or the money. So thank you. I have a very quick speech here. Yeah.
Can a Chinese citizen use your platforms for shops, for exchange? Is it legal?
Your question is if Chinese people can use my platform to use a coin, buy or sell something on my website. Yes, my answer is yes. Now the Bitcoin in China is illegal. It's not illegal. I think there is a misunderstanding about the China policy about the Bitcoin. And our government's policy now is very clear. The financial system cannot touch Bitcoin. Whatever the bank, insurance company, or stock company cannot touch it. And the market for the Bitcoin, website is not illegal, but they cannot have the bank account. So it means you cannot do business. Yeah, in China this is policy. And personally, we can buy and sell Bitcoin now. Legal is, for example, you can sell the Bitcoin to me and I can sell the Bitcoin to you face to face. No, cannot via some company service. Yeah, we quit. This is group buy and sell. That's illegal in China. And Bitcoin is legal. In China, it's like electronics property. So you can buy and sell freely, person to person. Yeah.
How about shops? Can I buy something in a shop, Bitcoin?
Now you can buy something from my website, of course, no problem. And you cannot buy something related with Bitcoin from, for example, the big shop like Taobao like eBay in China, Alibaba, or some other big company, because the government say you cannot support Bitcoin. So they say no to Bitcoin. Yeah.
ATM.
Yes.
You got it in China?
ATM now, the simple one, you use the cash to buy and sell Bitcoin is illegal. Now in China, the only problem is the bank system don't support you. So you cannot transfer the money to buy and sell Bitcoin via our machine by the bank, from the bank. So you can use the cash. You input the cash, then you got the coin. That's legal. No problem in China.
Do you already have ATM in China that the Chinese citizen can use?
Yes, there's a few ATM from Lamazou in China. I think about 3, maybe 4 ATM in China. So you can buy the Bitcoin to use the RMB.
Can I ask another question? I didn't understand what you meant by on-chain wallet.
On-chain means the private key is not controlled by the website. It's controlled by the user. Off-chain means the private key is stored on our website. You know, private key means...
Why do you use the word chain?
Chain means blockchain, yes.
You mentioned in the beginning something about huge mining farms in China and about electricity like up to 50 megawatts. What is, if you buy like a megawatt of electricity in China, what is the price for electricity?
Now in China, with the electricity price is like this. For example, the industry we separate it to the home use or commercial use. Home use now is in China. In my city, it's about 11 cents per kilowatt per hour, and for the industry one is from 16 cents to 20 cents.
16 to 20?
Yes.
For industry?
Yes, for my city. And in some place, if they are near the plant, the price is about 6 cents to 10 cents. Any more question?
What's your next step?
My next step now is make the faster miner and join with some group to make the ASIC, new ASIC, and to provide a good ATM to the community and a cheaper one, good one, to let more and more people use Bitcoin. Please.
Do you have do you know of any competitors you have in China in terms of miners, ATMs? What I'm asking is, how big is the industry in total, not only your company?
Now for miners, there's some other competitor in China. About now is around 5 to 6. Yeah. For ATM, two company.
And website
in China is about 3.
3 websites that accept Bitcoin for purchases.
No, 3 websites like our business model. So for accept Bitcoin shops is not so many. I think it's about some people they accept Bitcoin to charge the mobile phone, and but it's not a platform. It's some shops online.
So in China, Bitcoin is made an investment right now, right?
Yeah, now the biggest market in China for Bitcoin is first is mining, the miner. Second is buy and sell to do the trading. Some people think it will rise and buy. Some people think it will drop, so they sell. Yeah, like they buy the stock. Please.
What is the Chinese government attitude to other currencies? I mean, all the new other cryptocurrencies, Litecoin, memory coin, whatever. What is their attitude? Is every cryptocurrency illegal or just Bitcoin?
In China, all the cryptocurrency, in my mind, is always legal. All the cryptocurrency, not only Bitcoin. And you can buy and sell personally. That's it.
So mining seems like a pretty easy way to anonymously move money out of China, to move wealth without it being tracked at all because you didn't buy it on an exchange. Do you think people are using or will be using mining equipment as a way to move wealth without having to record it?
Yeah, you know, the China is one country, the capital is under control. And I think Bitcoin is not the first choice to move the money to cross the border. It's not the first choice. Because firstly, you need to trust the Bitcoin. So many people, they don't trust it. They don't know what is Bitcoin. Second is the currency exchange rate is floating. So if they say I buy some Bitcoin, then I send back to overseas, right? When I got it, I sell it, then I lose big money. So they won't choose it. But some people in China now, they choose Bitcoin as like the gold. They buy some Bitcoin, put it there to store their property, store their money, yeah.
For a Chinese citizen, if there is a foreign exchange link, like if you have one, you cannot buy too many dollars per year. So you say that for Bitcoin, there is no you can buy as a Chinese citizen as much Bitcoin as you want?
Yeah, first for the currency management in China is one citizen 1 year can only buy $50,000. You can transfer to overseas. You can say I want to travel, I need to buy, I want to buy something, you can buy. Yeah. And if you have some more project, big project, you need to announce to the government, got the permission, then you can transfer the dollars to, for example, you say I want to invest $1 million to invest overseas. So if you got the permission, it's legal, you can transfer it easily. But now it's not so easy to get the permission. You need to get many stamps from different government department. And the second is you can buy any Bitcoin, any amount, up to you. No need permission. You can buy it. But now the problem is how many you can buy, and if you buy too many, you will buy the price rising sharply, yeah.
You say the Bitcoin price in China is not connected to the Bitcoin price elsewhere because there's like capital control limits.
No. The Bitcoin price before it's big difference inside China and outside China, but now the price difference very small, just maybe 1% to 2%. Many people they do we call it is moving coins. For example, when the China market price is high, so they transfer money to overseas to buy the coin, then we sort come back to China to sell it. Or some people they can put same money, same amount of Bitcoin in China or and out in, for example, Bitstamp, they buy and sell the same time. So if the market is won't got problem like empty gold, they always make profits. They got more coins and more fiat. So many people do the same things now. So they help to floating the price difference. Now they have to flat the price difference. Yeah. So now there's no big difference. Some very few times now there's big price difference. For example, there's some big news. If there's some big news there, then the price difference will be very big. But very quickly, I think after a few hours, maybe 3 hours, 5 hours, the price will become similar.
Are you aware of people that do import and export of goods that are leveraging the Bitcoin in order to make payments?
You mean they import or export the goods, right?
So they buy goods in China, they want to export it to Israel.
Yes.
And instead of doing a wire transfer or TT, whatever then they use Bitcoin in order to facilitate the transaction.
So now a few people use Bitcoin to import the goods. But I think in the future it will become more and more popular because Bitcoin you can transfer it very fast, very quickly. Bank transfer you need 2 days, and Bitcoin you can transfer at once. If you can now I met some clients they want to buy the miner, so they don't like to pay some deposit because it's first time. So they come to my company, they check it, they pay at once, use Bitcoin. If they pay transfer by the bank, they must wait 2 days. I think in the future it will be more and more popular. For the importer or the buyer, for them the coin floating I think is not the key point, because when they got the money, they can got Bitcoin, they can save it at once, so they can fix their profit. I think in China the Bitcoin will be very good for the small amount business. For example, $1,000. Yeah, the people will like to choose, because for the small amount business, the time and the commission will be very important. If the big deals, for example, $1 million, the people will choose to wait. They will prefer to choose the most safety payment way. Yeah. Okay, so thank you everyone. Thanks Google Campus, and I enjoyed my trip in Israel very well. And tomorrow I will come back. Tomorrow evening, 10 o'clock, I fly back to China. I hope I will come back again very soon on October for the Bitcoin conference. Thanks. And I have the name card. If you need it, you can come to me to take my name card. In future, welcome you contact with me for any business for the miner, ATM, or the platform. If you have interesting, you can join with my team to bring the brilliant future for the Bitcoin. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Jack. Next up, we have Marco Krohn, the CFO of LightningASIC Mining. Please welcome Marco.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Marco Krohn, CFO of LightningASIC Mining. We also have a mining company, so similar to Jack, we are also doing mining, and we are doing mining in the S-curve world primarily. However, we are also doing now, or in the future, in the near future, we will also do SHA mining and X11 mining. So it's also hosted mining. For me, it's the second time I'm here in Israel. I very much enjoy it, and I hope the conference will be here soon. I will attend it and then give a proper talk, because today this is rather a spontaneous thing. So if everything looks a little bit improvised, the reason is it is improvised. So what I would like to talk today about is about money, about mining, and a little bit about the company LightningASIC Mining, what we are doing at the very end. So this is the agenda for the talk. What is a good form of money? The second thing is, what is mining and why do we need mining at all? Then I would like to talk a little bit about altcoins, because as I said, our primary focus of LightningASIC Mining is about altcoin mining. And the last thing is about my company, LightningASIC Mining. We do some large-scale mining. You run into different problems if you're going from a small rig to a couple of megawatts, and also about multi-pools and how you can use them to increase the efficiency of mining with respect to Bitcoin. So first thing I would like to repeat, and many of you probably know, Bitcoin is two things. Bitcoin is a payment system, and Bitcoin is a currency. And it's very important to know the difference. Actually, from my point of view, the most interesting thing is that Bitcoin as a payment system is an extremely fast, efficient, and cheap payment system. This is how the world, or the payment systems, look as of today. So you have the customer, you have a point of sale, you have the issuing bank, you have the clearinghouse, the merchant bank, and the merchant. So it's a long process with a couple of banks in between, and everyone, of course, would like to earn some of the money. So typically, if you do an international wire, as Jack said, it takes you like 2 or 3 days, sometimes more. They won't process anything during the weekend. So it can take 2 to 5 days, and it will cost you in general 2 to 5% until the transaction is processed. And the merchant costs 2 to 5%. This is the same, by the way, if you do it with a credit card. Of course, you could say, okay, I use a credit card. It's kind of an instant payment from my point of view, and I don't have to pay any fees. From the merchant point of view, the whole thing looks completely different. The merchant has to pay fees in the order of 2 to 5%, sometimes even more, depending on the kind of business you're doing and depending on where the customer is from. And you also don't have it's not that you get as a merchant the money immediately from the credit card company. There's a huge delay. And there's also the risk of chargebacks. And it's not the credit card company that has a problem with chargeback, it's you as a merchant who has a problem with the word chargeback. So they will have some revolving reserve and they will only pay you, let's say, like 60% or 70% of the money and keep the rest of the money for security reasons for another 30, 60, 90 days. Bitcoin, on the contrary, is a very efficient system. You have the customer, you have the merchant, and then in between there is just the Bitcoin network, which is doing the trustless verification via this mining thing we will talk about. Extremely efficient. From the merchant point of view, 0% cost. You as a client pay like a half a cent or something like that in that order. And a transaction takes from a couple of seconds if you don't need any confirmation, like BitPay, for example, uses it. For small amounts, this is absolutely safe. Or if you have larger amounts and you want to wait a couple of confirmations, then it takes 30, 40, let's say 60 minutes for 6 confirmations on average. So much faster. This layer is a Bitcoin as a payment system. The other thing which is interesting is to look at Bitcoin as a form of currency. Bitcoin is kind of from the model like similar to gold. So all you know, you only have 21 million coins, and over time there's a number of coins issued to the system, so we have some certain degree of inflation. On the other hand, if you look at the US monetary base, I think it's the money M1, you see it's growing and it's just controlled by a central bank, and it's one entity who controls the amount of money that is available in the system. It's one protocol, and it's more or less determined how fast the monetary base is growing. I'm saying more or less because if there are miners coming to the system and the hash rate increase, then the block time is not exactly 10 minutes, it's a little bit lower, and then the amount of money getting into the system is a little bit faster. But there is an upper limit of 21 million coins. From an economic point of view, there are basically two schools of thought. There's the Keynes people, and there's the Austrian school of thought. And it's quite interesting because both of them actually agree on one thing, namely money is in an economy the most important good. It's kind of intermediary good which allows me to make exchanges between two goods, and I just use money as an intermediary good. Both agree it's very important. The Keynes people and the Austrian school of thought, they have different conclusions. The Keynes people say because money is that important, we have to centrally control it by something called the central bank, and the central bank has to ensure that inflation or deflation is within certain limits. So we have to trust one central entity. Well, the Austrian school of thought basically says, because it is that important, we have to ensure that the market mechanism regulates the money. So the market should decide what is good money and what is bad money. And there is not just one kind of sort of money, but if, let's say, there is an Amazon dollar or the Exxon dollar or whatever, then people should decide whether they want to accept that, like air miles, for example. Air miles could be some sort of money, not just the US dollar. Or Bitcoin is kind of an implementation of the Austrian school of thought. Because right now, most of the money we use is fiat money, which is kind of controlled by the government, where the government or the central bank controls the monetary base, and we rely on it that they don't make any nonsense. And it happened a couple of times. You know the history, you know Argentina, you know how it was in Germany maybe in the past. There was huge inflation, and then money was worthless. And on average, a currency only exists for something between 25 or 30 years. So we should be very careful if we want to trust these central banks. Okay, the funny thing actually is that Bitcoin has some sort of value, but I think you all know there are different characteristics which are important before you want to use something as a form of money. Sand, for example, or air is a stupid form of money. So there are certain characteristics. This is just a short comparison between gold and Bitcoin. You will see Bitcoin has actually fantastic properties as a sort of money. And even more so, it's very easy transferable. I mean, also gold could potentially be some good way of being used as money. However, buying a loaf of bread with gold is rather difficult because you cannot easily split it in smaller pieces. I think most of you will know it, a short anecdote of the Bitcoin history, because I think it's quite quite interesting how kind of Bitcoin got value. There was one guy in the Bitcoin talk forums in the very early days who said at one point, okay, he wants to buy some real world good with Bitcoin. And he said, okay, I want to have 2 big pizzas. The first one who sends me 2 big pizzas to my home will get 10,000 Bitcoin in return. That was only about 4 years ago. At that point in time, 10,000 Bitcoins were kind of considered to be worth like $25, $30. Actually, at the time before, people were basically saying, okay, they were calculating the value of a Bitcoin by their production cost. That was actually the first time where people realized, okay, I can really buy something. And this was the first public recorded trade where someone bought a pizza, which is a very real good for Bitcoin. And yeah, well, I don't have to tell you the Bitcoin price now is at around 580 or so. So these 2 pizzas were rather expensive. Bitcoin is a distributed ledger. So we have many computers in the Bitcoin system, and these store the ledger. And the ledger basically is just, oh yeah, Alice has 5.3 Bitcoins, Bob has 100, and so on and so forth. So this is a little bit simplified. In its core system, Bitcoin doesn't know about ledgers, it only knows about transactions. How is such a transaction working, and how do I ensure that if Alice transfers money to Bob, that this is really Alice signing the transaction and is not someone else sending money from Alice's account to my account? Bitcoin uses a public-private key system, where the public key essentially is the account number, and the private key is kind of the PIN code, which you keep secret. In Bitcoin, it is done in a way, it uses elliptic curve cryptography, that you can derive the public key from the private key. So what is stored in your wallet is just a list of private keys you can use. Now if I want to do a transaction, like Bob wants to send money to Eve, 100 Bitcoin, how do I ensure that only Bob is allowed to do this transaction and no one else? Of course, he could show to the public, hey, I'm the owner of the private key, but then he would reveal the private key, and this is not what we want to do. There is a nice thing about this cryptography. We can sign a message, and by that show to the public that we are the owner of the private key without revealing the private key itself. So the mathematics behind this is a bit complicated, but basically, we create a signature which is based on the transaction message and which is based on the account number or on the private key. And this signature is only valid for this transaction message. So no one can just copy-paste the signature to use this, or can modify the transaction message to sign a transaction. And the network then can really check whether, and the input is again the public or the account number, it's a transaction message and the signature. And the network can then determine whether this was really signed with this private key, whether it was a rightful owner, and only valid for this transaction message. So no one is able to just counterfeit a signature or do a transaction or modify something. So we can be sure that the rightful account owner did the transaction. The question is when? Because in such a distributed network, we don't have a notion of time. We do not know whether Alice, let's take the following situation. I have 100 Bitcoin on my account, and I tell the network I want to send my Bitcoin to Alice, and at the same time I want to send it to Bob. So I do 2 transactions and transfer them to the network at the same time. This is called a typical double spend. I'm trying to spend my money twice. In a centralized system, it's very, very easy to detect this. The centralized system, the bank will say, okay, you just transferred the money to Alice, 100 Bitcoin. The account is now at 0. You can't transfer the Bitcoin again. If I have a decentralized system where no computer can trust the other computer in the system, it's way more difficult. I cannot, I need to reach kind of consensus in this network. And mining is actually only the way how to reach consensus in this distributed network. For that, you just need to remember what is a cryptographic hash function, because this is the base for proof of work or for mining. A cryptographic hash function essentially takes some text, like fox, or the red fox jumps over the blue dog, and what you get is a number, like a 256-bit number as the output. There are two important things about the hash function. The hash function, if you modify something here, like the red fox jumps over the blue dog, and you modify one letter, the output of the hash function is completely different. And the other thing a good hash function should have, the other criteria, is that it should be almost impossible, given hash output, you should not be able to create an input which will result in this hash output. These are the two main properties of any good hash function. And the SHA-256 is just one of the hash function which is used for Bitcoin. There were other functions like script, adaptive, X11, and so on, which can be used as a sort of cryptographic hash.
So the hash function is used both in the signing of a transaction and for the proof of work?
No, just for the proof of work. I mean, this is, here what we here use is public-private key cryptography. It's elliptic curve algorithm which is used. This, what we use here, is just the cryptographic hash. So I will come to that. We basically essentially reduce the amount of text to a number. So this is sometimes also used for verifying that a file or a zip file or so has not been changed. So what is mining? So I already said we want to reach consensus in the network, which transactions appeared in which order. So how does it work? The miners take all the unconfirmed transactions. If I want to transfer money to Alice or to Bob, I tell the network, okay, please send my coins to that and that address. The miners then will collect all these unconfirmed transactions and form something which is called a block. This block also contains a free parameter which is called the nonce value. And the task of the miners is basically to choose the nonce word in such a way that the whole block, the hash of the whole block, is below a certain threshold. So there is something which is called the difficulty, and my task as a miner is to choose this free parameter in such a way that the hash is below this difficulty. This is what is written here. Select the nonce of the block such that the hash of the block is below a given threshold. So, and then I have to keep trying. I have an example here. So forget about the previous block for a second. What is the input is we use the cryptographic hash function of the current block. It's a little bit simplified, but you get the idea. And we have the nonce value here, 122, 23, and so on. And on the right-hand side, this is the output of the cryptographic hash function. It's a number. And all we need to do is to check whether this number is below a certain threshold, which in this example is 100. So the miner tries 122 as a nonce value, doesn't work. And then finally we find, okay, for 107, the output is 35. It's below the difficulty of 100, so we have found a block. This is what miners do all the time. So it's a little bit like rolling a dice all the time and to hope for a 6, so you can start. If you found something, you solve the block, you will immediately want to let to know the whole network about it. And the network can immediately double check that everything is correct. If solving this problem is extremely hard, at the moment, the network is trying, I think, 125 quadrillion hashes each second. So this is the amount of combinations that is tried by the network each second. So this is finding a solution, because this number is now the difficulty, or the number, the threshold is rather low, is very difficult. if someone has a solution, it's very easy for everyone to check that the solution is correct. This is then called, I have solved the block. Yeah, please.
How do you know the network, the other servers? If you're competing it, you want to distribute it and collect next transactions. What database keeps the network?
In Zinc?
How do you know the IPs of the other servers to send them the information?
Okay, I'm not an expert in this, but locally they are connected to, let's say, eight other peers. So every computer in the network is locally connected to 8 or 100 or so peers. If I want, I'm participating in the network and I want to relay a transaction, I get the transaction and I will immediately let know all the other peers in the network about it. So this message that there is a new transaction spreads over the whole network. The same thing if someone found a block. If I found a block, I will immediately let know all my peers about that I found a block. Because for me it's very important that my block is accepted by as many nodes in the network as possible. But there is no central list or anything like this which contains all the IP of all the participating parties. Of course, for, let's say, huge mining pools, it's extremely important for them to be very well connected. Because if you found a block, it's time critical to let everyone know about it. Otherwise, something could happen that someone else finds at the same point in time also a block. And that's something you are trying to avoid. Because then you are at the risk of, I will explain it in a second, but then you will spend a lot of work and you are at the risk that the majority of the network accepts the other block and you don't get the block reward. So all people are essentially looking for is the block reward. They want to earn these 25 Bitcoin for each solved block. Does it answer your question?
So the previous block and the current blocks, you refer to block heights, right? Or
it's essentially it's some kind of hash as well. What you're trying to achieve is also with the previous block, you want to link all these blocks. That's why it's called the blockchain. You want to link all these blocks together. And by including the hash of the previous block, replacing this block, for example, by another block, replacing this one by another block would also mean that this block becomes invalid. So you would have to produce, if you want to change something, each of these blocks contains a number of transactions, let's say like 400 transactions. If I have some evil intent and try to change something later on, and I want to change a transaction which is in this block, and I want to produce my own block, I also have to counterfeit all the other blocks in the blockchain.
So the hash of the previous blocks also includes block height and all kinds of other characteristics.
Yeah, it's basically just think of it as the hash is kind of a way to ensure that all the information of the block is kind of contained in the hash in some way. I mean, not all the information, but it's like a fingerprint in some way. Yeah. So what I include is a kind of a fingerprint of the previous block, something like a fingerprint of the current block, and the block could be, for each miner, could be different. I am, as a miner, I'm absolutely free to choose whatever transactions I like. So if I have 1,000 unconfirmed transactions, I am, as a miner, can say, okay, I want to put these and these and these in the block and not these ones, because there is no fee in these blocks. So it's I as a miner have a certain degree of freedom. Of course, I cannot put in a block 2 transactions which are contradicting each other, like for double spend, because then I can say, okay, this is a block, but no one else in the network will accept this as a valid block.
Yeah, and also they can't contradict the previous blocks of the network.
Yeah, this is a measure, as I said, you want to build this blockchain, and you want that each block depends on the previous one, so they are not independent. And if someone with a malicious intent, he would then to rewrite the whole story of the blockchain. This is actually the reason why you need such a. I mean, if you're trying to rewrite the history, that I'm now a little bit too far off that I wanted to be here, but this is each time. Let's say my transaction is in this block. Then when it is in this block, this is called the first confirmation, second confirmation, third confirmation of my transaction. If someone tries to rewrite the history, and the miners have a basic rule which says always work on the longest blockchain, always work on the longest one. So in this case, they would work on this one. If I try to rewrite the history, my transaction is here, and I want to make something evil, I could do it. I have to solve this block again, but also the next one, and the next one, and the next one, because if my blockchain is too short, then people will just continue working on this one. So I have to be, or I'm in competition with the rest of the network. And this is why I need more hash power or more and a higher hash rate statistically to keep up. I have either to be extremely lucky, or I have to a lot of hash rate to be faster than the rest of the network. And this is the reason why this is called a 51% attack. So I need more hash rate than the rest of the network to produce a blockchain which grows faster than the rest of the network. And actually, this is kind of the protection for Bitcoin against any attempt of a double spend. So all the miners, what they are doing is ensuring a certain order. The blockchain is nothing else than ensuring that there is a certain order in time. They put them together in blocks, solve this extremely hard problem, and ensure that no one can make a double spend. Yes, please.
I understand that the 51% attack is currently only self-regulated by miners, right? Or there is something built into the protocol that enables network regulation?
Essentially,
the 51% attack.
Yeah, it's not part of the network. It's just that I have to, because the network will always add blocks to the longest blockchain. If I want to be adding blocks faster to the blockchain, then I make a new blockchain here. So I take this block, but this one, I make a copy of it, modify something, yeah, which is good for me, but not for no one else.
And I understand. I wanted to understand if this type of attack, is it only self-regulated, or the entire miner community can identify it and prevent a large miners group from actually reaching the 51%?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
I don't know, maybe someone else understands that it is self-regulated.
Yeah, there is no rule or something like that. So yeah.
So theoretically, let's say a government, let's say some evil government decided it wanted to destroy Bitcoin, and it employed a lot of computing power. Yes. Then it's possible that they will be able to.
They could certainly, with let's say a couple of hundred of millions of US dollars. I once did a rough calculation. Let's say they have a budget of about 500 million, and their only purpose is to destroy Bitcoin. Then this would potentially be a way to do it. From an economic perspective, the double spend, or let's say alternate blockchain, if you reveal it, everyone will know about it, and you will see such an attack. So you are not able to earn money with it. So all you can do is basically destroy the network or make it much harder. I mean, there are some ways to circumvent that, but it makes it extremely hard. And if there is a malicious attacker doing it this way, and they spend like $500 million on it, they could potentially do it, yes. Economically-wise, it's always better to be on the good side and work with the others, because then you can earn money. Okay, I already said mining is a hard problem. The more miners participate, the higher the hash rate is, the harder it is for some evil attacker to reach 51%. So mining is the protection of the network. Mining, the second reason for mining is also to distribute coins in the network. Otherwise, all the coins would be given out at t = 0, which would not be quite fair. So at least mining is also a process that everyone also years later can participate and get new coins by that. The interesting thing is it's also a self-regulating thing. Every 10 minutes a block, or roughly every 10 minutes a block statistically is found. And then every 2016 blocks the difficulty is readjusted. So the network just checks, okay, on average now block times are at 8 minutes, so it readjusts the difficulty in such a way that over the course of the last 2 weeks, the difficulty is in such a way that the block time will be about 10 minutes. So what you can see is that the hash rate has really exploded over time. It's either the difficulty or the hash rate, but it's essentially the same thing. This is now for 2 reasons. It's one, that the price of Bitcoin was doing very well over the last couple of years. And for each block I solve, I get 25 Bitcoins. So this is 25 Bitcoins, let's say, times $600. Times $600, that's $15,000, which are given to someone every 10 minutes. So there's a huge economic incentive. The other thing is that the technological advance is in such a way that more and more hash rate can be produced at the same price. And this is happening in the same way now with the S-script market, and with other markets will appear as well. As soon as there are ASICs, or even before, then probably the hash rate will explode. So if you want to mine Bitcoins, you always have to take into account that at least right now the growth rate is exponentially. Please.
What's the profit on mining right now?
It's difficult to give one answer on that. You mean for Bitcoin? It depends on the hardware you use. I mean, essentially it depends on 3 or 4 things. It depends on how much of the miner and what hash rate does it have. What is the cost of electricity? That's why I asked Jack about it. That's a critical, it becomes more and more a critical factor in all kind of mining. It depends on the overall hash rate in the network and the change of hash rate going forward. Let's say for Bitcoin, I think most people that tried mining Bitcoins made a loss. I think they were better off with using the amount of money and simply directly buying Bitcoin.
What's the profit of making ASICs?
I can't say for sure, but I think if you're... Also, I mean, it depends. If you're the first in the market and you are having a competitive advantage, then you can make a lot of money with it. I know for sure that making your own ASICs, just the step of designing plus doing the first product costs you millions of dollars. So you have to retrieve this amount, and you have to retrieve it in a certain amount of time because your competitors don't sleep. They will produce ASICs, and there is they started with 65 nanometers, go down, down, down. They are now below 20 nanometers, and now they are working on chips, specialized chips, which work below 20 nanometers. And this is extremely expensive for them. So it costs tens of millions of dollars if you go below 20 nanometers. This is just roughly to show, in the beginning people mined with CPUs, then they found GPUs are much faster, so they programmed the GPUs, used FPGAs, and what is happening in Bitcoin, we're here for a long time, ASIC. For S-script, it's basically the same thing. People started to use CPUs and GPUs and so on. But we are now also always ASIC. There are some other hashing algorithms like X11. There is no ASIC so far. But from my point of view, it's just a matter of time. Whoever believes that there is something like an ASIC-proof algorithm is wrong. At one point in time, if it's economically viable, people will produce an ASIC and will use the economy of scales to mine that coin with ASIC. Okay, what are altcoins? That was in 2011 that someone said, okay, we have Bitcoin. Bitcoin has a block time of 10 minutes and it uses this char algorithm. Why not produce another coin which has a shorter block time of 2.5 minutes and which is kind of more accessible for the miners at home. They're using this S-script, which is a hash function which is extremely complicated and very difficult to implement in ASIC because it has a huge memory consumption. So this was actually the first altcoin. It's still the largest altcoin, has a market cap of around 200-300 million, so it's a significant market. And sometimes Litecoin is a little bit compared to silver and Bitcoin to gold. But of course, Litecoin is not the only altcoin, so if you can do it once, you can also do it a couple of hundred of times. There is some interesting innovation going on in the altcoin space, but many of these coins are just some, let's say, people are trying out something, and then the coin vanishes again. But there are also some interesting coins and experiments. Dogecoin is one of these examples, or recently Darkcoin, which adds a higher level of anonymity to the coin level. I think it's a great idea that we have these altcoins and that people can try out something, because Bitcoin is not it's not something where you can easily modify something and see how it works. Bitcoin has a market cap of 6-7 billion, so it's not something where people can just try something. And the altcoin space is a great way to try things, and there are several interesting ideas which are being worked on. So I said we have the chart 256, that was the first one. It's used by Bitcoin, Namecoin, Peercoin. Then there was a second generation, which I just mentioned, that was used by Litecoin, Dogecoin, and so on. And we have different algorithms which are used by different types of coins. Okay, in the last 5 minutes, I would like to talk briefly about the company I'm co-founder of, which is Genesis Mining. Genesis Mining is specialized in S-script mining, so we are specialized in altcoin mining. And there are some, let's say, we have three things. Number one thing is we provide hosting, not only for altcoin mining, but also for large mining farms. So if someone has like a dozen or more Bitcoin miners, we have the hosting capabilities. So we have cheap electricity and we have cool air to cool these machines. Because if you scale from here to here, you will find problems that you didn't have at your home miner. So for example, electricity consumption, here you just have a kilowatt or 2 kilowatts. But if you have, let's say, like a megawatt, then this also means that you produce a megawatt of heat. And you somehow have to get rid of this heat. The other thing is cheap electricity. If you want to mine at your home, you pay extremely high prices for that. If you get industrial level electricity, it's much cheaper. On the other hand, people wanted to sign like a contract over 1 year. So from their perspective, if you want to build a power plant, they would like that to actually sign a contract of 5 years, 10 years, or 20 years. But from the miner perspective, it's more interesting to sign a contract of half a year or a year. And of course, you have to take all kinds of things into account for the security, alarm systems, and insurance companies. Because the value of these miners in the warehouse quickly exceeds $1 million or more. So that's the first thing we provide. The second thing we provide for the altcoin space is a very easy to use interface. So what we have is a website where you can buy hash rate, and you can then allocate your hash rate on different coins. You can say, okay, put 20% of my hash rate to Litecoin, 20% to Dogecoin, 10% to Aurora coin, and something to Bitcoin. So actually we do not provide, or we cannot mine with S-script, we cannot mine Bitcoin, but we have something which is called a multi-pool. And the concept actually is very, very interesting. So you have, let's say, a list of 30 altcoins which are traded at several exchanges, like Litecoin, Dogecoin, and so on. Now you have S-script miners which can mine all these 30 different coins. Now you could say, okay, I just mine the coin which is the most efficient one in terms of what do I get in return for that in terms of BTC, in terms of Bitcoin. If I want to maximize my output in terms of Bitcoin, I just mine, let's say, Litecoin now, and depending on the price on the markets and depending on the difficulty of the coins, I mine another coin 5 minutes later. So what we offer also is some sort of, it's called a multi-pool. So we have our miners here. We have a decision logic which watches, like, I think at the moment 7 or 8 different exchanges for their prices. And at each exchange you have Litecoin traded against Darkcoin, Litecoin traded against Bitcoin, Litecoin traded against Dogecoin, and so on. So you have lots of pairs. And at each point in time, this decision logic will look, okay, which is the coin I should mine now to return or to maximize at the moment my profit in terms of US dollars or in terms of Bitcoin. And then it will switch the miners in such a way to mine the relevant altcoins. And we have a complete trading engine which operates on all these exchanges, which will automatically take the coins and convert them back to Bitcoin. So what our users get if they want, they can choose whether they want to mine an altcoin or they want to mine Bitcoins. They can also get payouts in Bitcoin. And this turns out to be extremely efficient. We have I think I did this calculation 1 month ago. This was 3 times more efficient than directly mining Bitcoin. So with $1,000, it's way more efficient to mine script coins and then change the altcoins to Bitcoins than to directly mine Bitcoins. The algorithm is extremely complicated because it not only has to take into account the market depths, it's not sufficient to just look at the bid or ask side of the order book. If you say, okay, there is now one guy selling me a Litecoin for Bitcoin at this and this price, but I have 10 Litecoin, I have to take into account the whole book. Just looking at the highest ask or the lowest, the highest bid or the lowest ask is not enough. The other thing is you have to take into account is overhashing. If you, of course, you could say, okay, now this coin is the most efficient one, but if I put all my hash power, this is gigahashes, onto one small coin, it's not efficient more. It's not efficient anymore. Then I will kind of use all my hash power also against myself because the difficulty will skyrocket for a short amount of time, and that's not something I'm interested in. So we have some, it's called linear optimization, some logic behind that, which will try to distribute the hash power in such a way that the amount is used, or that the coin portfolio is optimized. Yeah, basically I'm done with the talk. I'm a little bit over time, I know. I really like the statement of Gavin and Wesen. You can practically put a bank in your pocket. That's pretty amazing. I think Bitcoin is one of the most amazing technologies of our time. And I think this will be very, very interesting for this year and for the next years. Thank you so much.